And first up on the main card, we have Kevin Gastelum versus Dricus Plessis. If I said that correctly, I hope I did. Gastelum coming in as a negative 160 favorite versus Plessis at a plus 135 underdog. Fern, how'd you break down this fight?
Welcome, everyone. Again, subscribe before you listen to us talk. Breaking down this fight, Kevin Gastelum is, very well known. Is a person that has now been in the UFC almost 9 years. Recent losses to Jared Cannonier, Robert Whittaker. He's training at Rafael Cordero's King's MMA gym. Apparently, he's been training with Henry Cejudo lately as well. He's always exciting to watch. I still go back and I look at his fight, his KO win over Michael Bisping. He's fought Uriah Hall. All these guys who, are former champions, current champions, future Hall of Famers. So he has the experience. The thing is, I don't know what's been going on lately that he just kind of can't put it together. So in this last fight, he had a lot of lateral movement in and out. You can see the Muay Thai, the kind of shoot-to-box footwork, groundwork that he's kind of established. Body head, jabbing, consistently trying to kind of get them to drop their guard, and then coming after with kicks. So combo, kick, consistently. And little by little, he starts just everything ending it with the kick or starting with the kick. You see that Muay Thai shoot box influence heavily. Constantly being in the middle, ending his combinations and stuff like that with takedown attempts at the end of the round. So with Plessis, interesting fighter. I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of his last fights, Colby. Great kickboxer. It's going to be hopefully a fight where they use their stand-up to go toe-to-toe. Duplessis has a high, tight guard. Super, kind of reminds me of Anderson Silva because at one point he has his hands up and he does like the elbow to kind of deflect, which is super interesting because not many people do that. That's definitely striking heavy, does a jumping flying knee, shoulder shrugs, chin tuck, just typical stand-up fighter, kind of like Edson Barbosa, Anderson Silva style. As the fight goes on, he's able to cover a large distance with the jab, guillotine guard, side mount, full mount, has great consistent ground game. And as the fight goes on, he's able to put together his striking. One of the fights, the KOs he does, is he gets pinned against the cage and he bounces off of it and like lunges forward. I've never seen that before. It kind of reminds me of the, I want to say like Ali. Do you remember like watching Muhammad Ali fight? Like he does the rope-a-dope, like bounces off, goes forward. I'm trying to think of who else did that. Vanderlei Silva in Pride would just kind of corner himself and then like rubber band himself off. Very exciting matchup, interesting matchup. I hope Kevin Gastelum can kind of put together some wins and get up there because he's got the experience. It's just, can he make it work to his advantage? This is going to be hopefully a knockout on the feet. What are your thoughts, Colby?
Yeah, so I remember his last fight against Giles, and if I remember correctly, I actually picked Giles to win that fight, and I was feeling pretty good about it, but he did exactly what you said, which is he knocked out Giles with his back up against the fence. Giles kind of went in for the kill, and he just had that short straight right that just dropped Giles, and he was out. It was not it was not subtle. Was definitely impressed. He has only had 2 fights in the UFC, which is part of the reason why I picked Giles, because Giles I thought had the experience. I like Giles stand-up, but he really impressed me in his last fight, so I gotta definitely not sleep on this guy. With Gastelum, obviously, as you mentioned, he has a ton of fights in the UFC, has fought the best of the best, and I don't know what his issue has been either in his last couple of fights. I feel like he did fairly well with Cannonier. It wasn't like he just got steamrolled. It was a pretty competitive fight. I feel like one of the big issues is, once you're in the top ranks of the UFC, you've been around for a while, guys have a lot of opportunities to watch a lot of your videos, and if you've got certain flaws in your style, they're going to get pinpointed. And I think maybe one of the issues with Gastelum is him being a little bit shorter for the division. I feel like guys, Whitaker is about the same height, but Whitaker also is just a beast. So I feel like it was a little bit different situation there. But with some of the other guys that are taller, I feel like they've really stayed out of his range really well, where he really has to lunge in to be able to make contact on the feet. So I don't know if if that's the case, where he's just been, his weaknesses have been identified and there's nothing that he can do about it because it's a physicality issue or what. But looking forward to watching this fight. I always enjoy watching Gastelum's fights because they're always wars, it seems like. He gets in a lot of them, and super tough guy. I've loved watching him since he was on The Ultimate Fighter. And yeah, looking forward to watching this fight and seeing how it plays. So wait, who's your pick? Did you say who your pick was?
I want Gastelum. I want him to put it together for everything to work smoothly. Like you mentioned, he has had great performances, just coming up slightly short. He's not getting knocked out. He's not getting stopped. Nothing. It's just falling short every single time. And it's not by much.
One thing also about Du Plessis, he's from South Africa, and so not a lot of fighters out of there. Maybe that's also why hadn't heard much about him prior to him getting into the UFC. But if I had to pick, I'm probably going to have to pick Du Plessis after seeing the last two fights between both of these guys, even though the odds makers do have Gastelum as the -160 favorite. I was just super impressed. Du Plessis in his last two fights, they didn't last very long. It was the second round knockout with Giles, and it was the first round knockout against Perez before that. So I'm rooting for Gastelum, but my logical pick is going to be Du Plessis on this one.
He has shown great technique ability against the last fight that you mentioned that he had the KO in the first round. He was getting attacked. Was it the guy's last name Perez, right? He was on the back foot the whole time, and I'm like, they're like, he's anxious. You can tell it's his first fight in the UFC, and he almost got overwhelmed. But then he found his footing, his pacing, everything, and knocked him out on like spinning back fist attempt. Just short left jab to the temple as he spun. But he weathered that storm. I was like, this guy is coming out here to kill him, like Vanderlei Silva, like Tasmanian Devil style. Like in Pride days where he would just put his head down, and I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but he is scared. And they commented on it a couple of times. But yeah, if he can weather a fighter like that, I think Gastelum's best chances are probably going to be to take down and see what he can do on the ground. Because standing up, I guess he's kickboxing foundation. I guess he held 2 titles in different organizations at the same time. I definitely can see why people would be picking the upset. Gastelum, if he can just be smart, use his ground game, he can mix it up and then go for a knockout after that. But if he's not mixing in takedowns, he's going to get picked apart on the feet.
We will see.
And we're both wearing red, hopefully for a bloody outcome, foreshadowing. That was not on purpose, but we're going to go with that theme.